Hello, my name is Matthew Maldonado, and I decided to do a little bit more discovery into the Port of Los Angeles and the environmental racism that is taking place in the surrounding cities, which would be San Pedro and Wilmington. If you look at what environmental racism means, as stated by Pello, it is the enforcement of regulations and laws and the deliberate targeting of communities of color for toxic waste facilities and the official sanctioning of life threatening presence of poisons and pollutants within communities. Environmental racism is something that is occurring across the country, with it mainly affecting minorities. Um, these are the ones that are affected by toxic plants and other pollutants, and this has a direct negative impact on these communities of color. Well, with this major issue still taking place across the U.S., it reinforces the horrible cycle of inequality and environmental racism. So, first, we take a look at the demographics of the city of San Pedro. It has a population of 52,000 with 34.1% white, 49.5% Hispanic, and a mixture of 6.1% of black and Asian. The city of Wilmington has a population of 55,000 with 89.89% Hispanic, 5% white, 3% Asian, and 2% African American. Like I mentioned, if we looked at those two cities of San Pedro and Wilmington, they're mainly minority dominated, with Hispanics being at the top. Um, some other stats. If we look at the city of Wilmington, one out of every five residents within Wilmington lives below the nation's poverty threshold, as stated by Pablo Unzueta from the article In the Shadows of Industry. If we take a look at the effects of pollution on these two cities, we could see how there is um, refineries, trucks, rail yards, freeways, the Port of LA, and how these are all combined to be major sources of emissions. Nearly 2 million pounds of toxic air contaminants a year are emitted by all these into these nearby communities. People suffer from asthma, have a higher risk of developing cancer, and other respiratory issues. Residents within these neighborhoods need emergency room treatment for asthma attacks more frequently than their neighbors in the rest of Los Angeles County. Next, I want to talk about profit and racial capitalism and its connection with environmental racism. So, within the Port of LA, and also in the surrounding cities, these cities are not the ones that are making the millions of dollars and benefiting from this port. It's the major corporations like Amazon and other major companies that use this port. From the article, Biden calls for work at polluted port, which riles environmental justice activist by Jeremy Jacobs. Um, he talks about how over 125,000 companies use this port for import, while 75,000 export. Um, Many of these companies will offer people jobs as a way of helping out these communities, and will also fund certain recreational community programs to show that they will help out when it all is just pretty much a cover up from the real damage that they're doing. Um, capitalism. Capitalism is also to blame for this injustice that is taking place. From Laura Polito's article of environmental racism, racial capitalism, and state sanctioned violence, she mentions the connection between these two topics. She states that the state is not interested in environmental justice and is also not interested in solving these environmental issues that minorities face. She also states that it is believed that this issue is too expensive to solve and will overall be disruptive to the state and to the political system as a whole. Along with this, it is mentioned that when it comes to profit for our capitalist system, environmental injustices will occur where major corporations put their facilities in communities of color while making all the money, but at the expense of the people within these communities. Next, I want to talk about the resistance and what these people have been doing to fight back. So, from the article called Wilmington Area Schools to Get Air Filters by Margot Roosevelt, back in 2011, we could see how there was air filters that were installed in more than 40 Wilmington area schools in order to alleviate asthma linked to the pollution from the ports of LA. There was a 5.4 million contract in which it was part of a landmark settlement back in 2008 between the environmentalist groups and the city of LA. Um, the settlement was negotiated by Natural Resources Defense Council and the Coalition for a Safe environment and other groups. Um, One of the most recent ones was actually in January of 2022, from the article of the Pacific Environment. It talks about the fight against environmental racism, and how the city of San Pedro City Council had become the first community within LA, excuse me, in the LA area to adopt a motion supporting Ship It Zero. Ship It Zero was a call for 100% zero emission shipping by the year of 2030. Lastly, I want to talk about the Take Action Plan. I feel like these communities know that their own neighborhoods are impacted by pollution, but I don't think they really know to what extent and how bad it really is. Um, I believe there needs to be a push by these communities slash cities against these major companies, and for them to find ways, that would not emit so much pollution into the surrounding areas. Along with this, there needs to be more environmentally friendly, and there needs to be accountability. Residents of these communities also need to be better informed of what is really going on, and this can be done by having city council meetings, showing the public research, facts, factual information of um, what is really happening. In doing this, I believe it would gain support by families, especially families, with little kids growing up within these neighborhoods, and overall wanting them and their families to want change in the future for their kids. Um, there's other resources like I previously mentioned with the Coalition for a Safe Environment, which originated in Wilmington, um, and this basically gives out resources of and facts and everything like that to show what's really going on from the Port of LA.